And we are on.
Hi, Friends Cat.
Where's share screen go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So welcome to Tell 70 Rose-Colored Glasses, the 7th anniversary edition. My name is Greg Newton.
I'm Donnie Jokum.
We are the co-founders of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, your favorite administration for queer people. And we are a queer bookstore that's been around since 2012. We started hosting Tell back in 2014 in our second location on Hester Street, and we've been hosting it ever since. Before I get to the Tells, I want to just briefly show you our website. Is that what I'm looking for?
Chrome.
Yes, store. So the Bureau has a store, bgsqd.com/store. It's on our website. You can click on books by category, zines, gift cards, and there's a lot of sales going on. So now when we have events coming up that are book related, we put them on sale. But we also have a Black History Month sale. So you'll see a lot of great titles that are on the front page of the store. So please check it out. That helps us to keep doing what we're doing. And I wanted to also say on Eventbrite, where you signed up for this event tonight, you can also see other events that are coming up in the coming weeks. So next week we have queer filmmakers, something on mental health. We have a lot of mental health things coming up because it's needed.
Yes.
I need it. They're all for me. So yeah, please check those out. Okay, how do I get back off the share?
I'm interested in the making porn event.
Yes.
That looks intriguing.
And that's going to be with Susie Bright. Do you know her?
I know the name.
She's a famous expert.
Yay. Oh, Yunique is here. Hi.
So yes, that's it for our online store, online events. If you all ever have ideas for events or books that we should have on the store, please do email us at contact@bgsqd.com. That I'll write that out since the transcript is not doing it well. But now I would like to welcome to our virtual stage, Drae Campbell, who first approached me some 7 years ago and said, "Hey, I got an idea." And I said, "Let's do it." And here we are. Please give it up for Drae Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you. It is an honor to be here. Thank you for everyone being here. This is always an exciting event for me and always a very supportive, loving audience. I always appreciate how tender and sweet and like supportive everybody has historically been in this show. And also Greg and Donnie, I feel like you sort of foster that vibe around your events, and I appreciate that. Thank you. So this is the 7th anniversary, and that means we've done the show roughly 70 times. And how many times in outer space have we done it now? Like this is the 6th, 7th one. I don't know. We started in March or something, April. Who knows what day it is or what time it is or where we are. Like they just went to Mars the other day. There's a global pandemic. Things have changed. So this month's show is curated and will be co-hosted by the great Mariel Reyes, which I'm very excited. Yay! So Mariel has a long history with Tell. Tell is also a podcast. There's one season. There's talk of finally getting the 2nd season back into production. We'll see when and if that happens. Who knows? But Mariel recorded a lot of the shows and basically helped co-produce the podcast. So has a lot of intimate knowledge of how Tell works, a lot of people's stories, has had them deep in her ears, and is sort of a Renaissance. I call Mariel a Renaissance queer. Knows all kinds of people, has done all kinds of things, and so is a perfect person to have curated this show and came up with the theme. And so I'm going to. Are you prepared? Are you ready? I'm going to pass the mic over to you, everybody. Please give it up for the great Mariel Reyes. Yay!
Thank you, Drae. Yeah,
You.
I'm as ready as I'm gonna be, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very, like, my heart is very full to see so many of y'all here tonight, and I want to thank you for making the time to hang out with us. I came up with this theme just because it's been a really rough year for all of us, and I was having a conversation with my wife the other day, and I'm apparently the optimist of the two of us. So I'm the cheerleader. I'm the one who's always like looking to the bright side of things. I'm the one who like clamps on the rose-colored glasses and finds, you know, the silver lining in things when they're shitty. And also, it just came to mind because I'll just go into the story. I had a friend pass away quite recently, sometime at the end of the year. And it was somebody that was like really important to me, like the first person who saw me as a queer peer when I was like 15 years old. We were in math class together. We used to have math class together, and I didn't pay any attention because she would pass me notes. And it was like the first time I ever got a note with like in a book or in a movie, it said, "Do you like girls?" Checkbox, yes, no, maybe. Like, that doesn't happen in real life, but it did. And I had never been posed with this question like in my whole life, even though I always, you know, knew something was up. But she saw me, or saw me, and we became friends that way. And she was the kind of person who was unapologetically herself. She was a long-haired butch in Queens in 1994 with a handball glove in the back of her pocket and like a big smile and every girl's phone number in her phone. So like we're 15 years old. She was like the first girl I ever kissed. And a lot of the friends I made in this formative time, all the queer friends I made were because of her. We all gravitated to her, or she saw us, and we all got to learn how to be ourselves by example, by following and seeing her example. I'm turning 40 this year, so she couldn't have been that much older than I was. And she passed away at the end of January. And I do have some friends still from high school that I still keep in touch with, because I got lucky to like know some really lovely people in that time. I know that's not the truth for a lot of people, especially queer people, but I count myself quite blessed because of that. So we got in touch, and turns out there was like a thing to go celebrate her life, and I didn't realize it was going to be a wake. Open casket, the whole thing. It was like, if you're from New York, Funeraria Ortiz is like the OG Dominican, Puerto Rican, Caribbean house of like a mortuary. So it's just quite old school. And, it was her family, and it's casket surrounded by like tons and tons of photos of like her big smiling face, and, all the people she's like loved and influenced. And she like lived a very full, bright life. And when it came time to go up to see her, I was completely shocked to find a long hair butch in a red lacy dress, like all the way to the arms up here, and a long like hair down and like abuelita makeup, just unrecognizable in like the way that she was as a person in her everyday life. And just, you know, like a person dies and that's not them anymore, but just wasn't. It wasn't. And I was, you know, heartbroken and very sad and angry, and still am. Like, I know people mourn all kinds of different ways, but that like felt disrespectful to her spirit and like the example that the life she's been living. And I don't believe in like gods and afterlives. That's all like Hogwarts, Lord of the Rings for me. But I kept thinking in the back of my mind that like, I hope she haunts them. I hope she comes back in this red ass dress, lacy red dress, and haunts them and be like, what the fuck? What did you do? Just, you know, because it's fucked up. It felt fucked up to me. I know I don't want to be like disrespectful to her family and how people mourn. That's not what I mean. But it just felt like disrespectful to her life, to like have somebody who's just such a bright light in everybody in so many people's lives and have it just occluded in such a visible way forever. And then I thought like, okay, so I had this conversation with my friend Richard about, so when you die, the last outfit you wear is your ghost outfit. I don't think everybody thinks that way, but I do. And I wanted to make sure that if I am pushed to the afterlife or whatever, and I have to haunt somebody because they did me wrong and I'm a Cancer, I would want them to know that that this ghost is, you know, that way immediately. So I was trying to think of a ghost outfit or like pop culture ghost, right? And hold on with me for a second here. I was kind of like doing a little bit of research on like pop culture ghost outfits, and there's not so many that are that go with me. Like there's not so many that look like me. Like this is not me clearly, but they're also children, and I don't know what their problem was. She's a ghost, but she's a fairy princess. I like the wings, but it seems like too much maintenance for in the afterlife. La Llorona would be cool and culturally relevant, but then you're stuck in a mirror forever, and that seems boring. Babadook. I don't know if Babadook is a ghost or a spirit, but I really like that Babadook could just be gender nonconforming. Babadook could be anybody, anything you want it to be. Like it, gender doesn't register because gender is over, right? But then I figured if I'm gonna be a ghost and I'm gonna haunt people for doing me wrong, I would want to have some drip, right? Like I want to be classy or, you know, just like stylish, right? And who is the classiest ghost that I could think of? It's Beetlejuice. Oh yeah, No Face is also gender nonconforming. You can't tell what they are. But Beetlejuice, look at the style. Like look at that cut of that suit. I was also wondering like if because I'm Black, they may think like I'm an old-timey burglar or a, you know, old-timey maid or something, but like that suit is fantastic. Like, come on, that's kind of what I want to do. But really, like, that's not how I dress every day. And if I wanted to be my most myself, even as a ghost, I would have to really lean into like the parts of myself that make me feel most comfortable. Like if I'm gonna be a ghost, I definitely have to have a. Oh, I lost my headphones. Still I'd have to have a vest because I always wear one when I'm feeling like I want to feel secure in myself. Like I know clothes don't really matter. Like anybody can wear anything, but something about a vest makes me feel really comfy. And the old-fashioned watch, dad watch, got one of those. My dad has one just like it. We don't really get along, but this makes me feel connected in some way. And oh, come on. Yeah. And I just want to make sure that I'm not misunderstood. Like in my living time and in the afterlife, I think that's what anybody would want, is to not be misunderstood. I kind of wish I knew what her name was Jasmine. I kind of want to know what her afterlife plan was, but I think maybe she never thought of that because she was such a person who was always full of life. But I want to tell y'all that if you see some fuck shit, like I'm being buried, number one, no thank you. But I'm being interred in a fucking wedding dress type shit. Of course fucking not. Of course fucking not. This is gonna be the dykiest outfit that you can think of. And that's how I wanna go. And that's how I'm gonna haunt you. So yeah, that's all I wanna say.
Yeah. People are screaming and crying. You need to go to the chat. You just blew our faces off. Thank you. Oh my God. That was so good. Oh, the cut of Beetlejuice's suit. What?
It's terrific. I was like
Good.
looking at all these pop culture ghosts and I'm like, Beetlejuice is the sharpest dressed one. Beetlejuice is the second brightest star in the Orion galaxy and it's red. That's the one.
Why did you?
I'm a misogynist, but that's the one.
You put those little twins on there and you're like, I don't know what their problem was.
When I Google girl ghosts, those are the first one that come up.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah.
Babadook was really bringing the queer though. Like
Babadook is terrific. But I think Babadook is not really a ghost, right? Because he's a representation of her psyche.
I don't know.
Have you seen that movie?
I don't know the story. No, I'm like a little bit of a scaredy cat with some scary.
It's an allegory of like motherhood and postpartum depression and mental health. Very scary.
Who knew?
Definitely watch it.
Okay, maybe if I'm not alone.
You're a scaredy cat. You don't like scary movies?
I like kind of thriller. Like I just watched The Stand.
I don't know that one.
It's Stephen King, post-apocalyptic. A virus breaks out and kills most of the world, you know, but then spooky, scary stuff happens. Anyway, fun. That was amazing. Yay, everybody. I also want to add, I really love that you talked about this because people don't talk about like that aspect of like the care of somebody. Standing ovation from Heather. It started with an LHB and it ended with an amazing outfit. And anyway, but I also wanted to add, I often think of like people in nursing homes and like what if this person is like an old masculine butch person and they're like painting her nails and like putting little barrettes because that's just like how they care. They don't. That.
Drae has died. Have you died, Drae? I can hear you a little bit. Come back.
Mariel, do you want to
Yeah.
take over while Drae refreshes, hopefully?
Yeah, just stitching onto what Drae was saying. Yeah, I think it's important to. Oh, she'll come back. I think it's important to honor the people who don't have the opportunity to be themselves in the public eye in the way that I take for granted sometimes. You know, like when we were teenagers in '94 in Queens, it wasn't safe to be out, you know, like you'd get all kinds of slurs still said on the street. And like it doesn't happen as often in a place like New York, but it still happens. And I know that like folks don't really come out or express themselves because it's just not safe. And somebody who's older and who like identifies as a butch or a femme man or whatever, and have those precious parts of the life stifled because somebody else doesn't see it as important is heartbreaking. But yeah, let's go back
Agreed.
to more. Oh, you're back.
I'm finally back, but I'll let you take over for now, just in case.
Okay. Talking about, you know, healthcare and pandemics and death is, I feel, not a strange thing for queer people because we're seeing our communities go through that a lot. And I really appreciate this new young crop of people going into healthcare. So we have so many more queer nurses and queer doctors and people who are not going to misgender you when you go to get your blood drawn, folks who are trans doctors themselves. It's an amazing time to be queer, even though everything's still shitty. Not everything is. And on that note, I wanted to introduce, or do you want to introduce Patric, Drae?
No, you can.
Okay, I don't have the bio in front of me, so.
Oh, I can read the bio.
Yeah.
I'll read the bio. We're co-hosting everyone on Zoom. Yay! Hold on just a moment while I read, because it is an important bio and I feel like it's good for people.
Yeah, it really is.
Patric Pardo is an epidemiologist working on COVID and HIV, primarily focusing on health disparities here in San Francisco and in the global South. He's currently working as a data scientist, working with COVID mass testing for Latinx populations, who, as we all know, have been disproportionately impacted. Working with data systems, and dashboards all day, it's hard to sometimes see the light at the end of the tunnel. Replicating the same lessons on who gets hit the hardest, why they get hit the hardest, and how seems like public health never goes far enough to solve these structural issues. But if we are doomed to repeat our histories of inequality, oppression, and impacts of racism, what does this mean for our collective and individual resilience? Please give it up for Patric Pardo. I hope I said your name correctly.
You did right, thank you. Thanks everyone. Sorry, this is my first time sort of appearing on a public forum like this, except for, you know, my science talks and whatnot, but happy to be here. Thanks Mariel, an old friend from back when I used to live in New York, for inviting me and allowing me to share my story. Hopefully, you know, my life is science, my life is COVID right now, as I'm sure everybody else is. You know, I'm sort of in the brunt of it. And so, you know, I guess I just wanted to talk about sharing my personal story and what this means for me. So I'm a data scientist, as was mentioned, which means that I deal a lot with data. And I'm not sure if you can all see my screen all right. You know, I know that the majority of people here are from New York. So this is on a New York data, but like, you know, you can clearly see that there are patterns, right? There are patterns. This is COVID that I just like put up on its side. And then this is people living with HIV, and these are both death rates. Well, this is, and you see, it's a familiar pattern, right? It happens all the time. Like African Americans hit the worst, like Latinos hit the worst. I'm sure it's not news to anybody in New York. It's not news here. And it kind of makes me feel down every time a new disease pops up. You know, every time something pops up and they're like, great, let's look at the data, let's collect the data, and let's see who we need to help the most. You know, I feel like we already know who we need to help the most, right? This is a comparison of TB and COVID and burdened households and people of color and, you know, people who are service workers. These are the same types of people. These are the same individuals getting impacted. These are our family members. You know, these are even ourselves. And when I go to work every day, you know, sometimes it's a little, you know, I feel a little down, right? You know, I feel like, oh, there's this new disease. Oh, who, you know, of course, who is it going to impact the most? You know, the same people, the same population that have always been impacted by these diseases, right? And so what does that mean for me working in public health? This is HIV diagnosis rates showing the same patterns. And what, you know, what does it mean for us? And so that's, you know, sort of the less rosy side of what I do, I think. That you know, you're looking at this at the same data. Essentially, we're looking at these diseases. This is, you know, 1912. This was a publication from like 1940s or in the 1950s, where you know, you saw sort of these TB death rates skyrocket during the epidemic of 1918. You know, this happened before. Like this happened 100 years ago. And it's the same thing over again. And so what does that mean for what I do? What does that mean for what public health is doing? What does that mean for a health system that's inherently a band-aid on a deeper structural issue, right? Sometimes I think about what I do and I'm like, am I just repeating the same thing over and over again? Are we just, as a population, as a people, as a community, just repeating our same, you know, sort of faults? And there are sort of, you know, I think genetic and molecular like predispositions to that happening. And that's what I really wanted to get into, because the other side of me is the science part, right? And I think that that's the more optimistic part of what it means to be a data scientist. This is a brief little thing basically telling you not to worry about the mutations, right? I'm not sure if you've seen this, but SARS basically and a coronavirus, all the coronaviruses generally mutate at a lot lower rates than other diseases and like influenza and like definitely like HIV. So maybe we don't have to worry about it so much. And that I think is the science part of it, right? It's as a scientist, I think we're inherently optimistic that the world is going to fix itself. And not fix itself, but we as a community are going to come together and we are going to try and heal ourselves, really, and to heal the trauma that we've caused our own bodies and our own populations and our own communities, because that's really, you know, our only way out of this. And so I was hoping that in the few minutes that I have, I'd be able to maybe share. And this is something new for me. Check the nails. Just got them done for you guys today. I was hoping that I could, you know, maybe draw a little picture or a little story for you all of, you know, just how, you know, why are we doomed to maybe repeat these cycles of violence and traumatic and cycles of trauma, right? Because these things are deeper than just ourselves. There's a lot of, you know, I think in grade school, right, we all get, a lot of us get taught that DNA really is really what is passed on to us, what's passed on to our, from our parents, what's passed on for our grandparents, what's really the basic unit block of life, essentially. There's new sort of research in the past 10 or 20 years showing that essentially there's an additional part called an epigenome, that there are proteins and RNAs that interact on top of DNA that really like, are basically the scientific basis for how this trauma gets passed down to us, for how the impacts of disease, the impacts of malnutrition, the impacts of everything that we see like get passed down to us, not because it changes our genetic structure, but because it changes these proteins and these RNA strands that interact with our genes. And the way they do it is they basically silence and promote regions of the DNA to say, hey, you need to express this in your body. You need to express less of this, more of this in your body. And so this stuff gets all the time, like either gets reinforced. For example, if proteins stay here, this part is sort of blocked from your body expressing it. And so, all the time your body is sort of trading in and out these messages from the community, from its own nutrition that you feed your own body. And they've done some really interesting, basically animal models. There was this interesting mouse model, and hopefully this will turn into a mouse. There's an interesting mouse model where basically what they did was they gave it the scent of cherry blossoms, and every time it smelled cherry blossoms, they would shock it on its foot. And so what ended up happening was that this mouse was scared of cherry blossoms, right? This mouse learned to be scared of cherry blossoms. Every time it would smell cherry blossoms, it would start running around the cage. It would start like being scared of this cherry blossoms. And what they found, this was a male, by the way. What they found was when this male had babies, the children would be scared of this cherry blossom scent. Like this child was never shocked. This like little mouse was never shocked. This mouse never even came across like electricity, but because its parent had such a strong reaction to the scent, its children, irrespective of them ever having experienced that themselves, were scared of this cherry blossom scent. And so, what does that mean? If something like this can happen for trauma, right? What does this mean for the messages that we are going to maybe eventually like pass on to our own generations of children? If we don't focus on healing itself, we get stresses like this all the time. Whether it be our environment, whether it be how we handle our individual situations. And if this happens in a mouse model, like how complicated do you think it's going to happen in human beings, right? And so there is a scientific basis for, this stuff getting passed on, and this stuff lasting throughout generations. I think they followed this stuff for like 2 or 3 generations, and those mice, while they weren't scared, they were still very sensitive to it. They may not have gotten anxiety from it. And they've done other studies where they're like, in case the parent mouse taught the children mouse to be scared, they made the children mouse like get raised by other mice that were never shocked, and they still had that disposition. They even took the sperm of this rat and like put it into another rat's and impregnated another rat, and even then, like even when that male was like totally out of the picture except for his DNA, like it's still passed on. And so, what does that say? And they've replicated the study, and it isn't only trauma, right? For some, there are good things that are passed on too. And this is sort of again the science part of it, right? there are good things, like, for example, if these children then in other generations are exposed to this cherry blossom scent, but they aren't shocked, they'll begin to lose that association. And then they'll begin to not actually to heal themselves. You know, much like, I don't know if, you know, I'm in therapy, it's great. Everybody here should try it. You know, cognitive behavioral therapy, that's what it's all about, right? It's all about remembering something, even if it's uncomfortable, sitting with it and being able to separate your own emotions and your own feelings from that, to be able to remember that and not attach those emotions to it. And they've actually had scientific studies where they've shown that that's actually affected your epigenome, where something like cognitive behavioral therapy, something like meditating actually affects the methylation and the histone production of your own DNA strands. So when you are healing yourself, you're not only doing it on the mental level, on a physical level, you are doing this on a deeply genetic level that is going to be passed down to your kids, right? And I'm sure to a lot of us, this is nothing new, right? You know, a lot of cultures have, you know, have stories about this. Like Peruvian culture, in the 80s, we had the Shining Path, which was a terrorist group where my family is from, and they like basically terrorized a lot of the natives up in the mountains. And there was a story of La Teta Asustada, the scared teat, which basically the story would go that the mother's trauma would pass on through the mother's breast milk onto the child. And so, you know, again, this is all reinforcement. I'm sure like various cultures have similar stories around like healing and around trauma, around healing. And so, yeah, I mean, this is my world, right? This is like, to a certain extent, I think that sometimes like science is like vastly behind the world's cultures, right? We're just trying to prove the stories that our ancestors have told us. We're trying to prove, you know, these stories that are older than ourselves, that are older than our parents and grandparents, and that we're right now finding a genetic basis for. And so, you know, this doesn't only happen for trauma. This happens for, which are, you know, people would say maladaptive factors and exposures to stress, but also to protective factors. If you are exposed to something and you, like a disease, and you survive, those genetics for that immunity get passed down to your children. And that's something that they've shown for anything from moths to sea anemones, to crustaceans, to bees, to birds, to sheep. That's something that spans 900 million years of evolution. And so, you know, that's to say that we, you know, it's not only the traumatic events and the stressors in our life that we pass down, but we also pass down these opportunities for healing. We also pass down this resilience through our genes. And so every time, and so basically, yeah, we need to think about like our maladaptive factors that we need to heal, and the protective factors that allow us to be resilient and that allow us to overcome these stressors. And I think, you know, that's really, I think the rose-colored glasses is sort of theme of my story, and sort of what I wanted to impart to you all today, that that this is, you know, the science part of my brain, right? That this is like, even though that there's this like well-studied model that's only getting bigger and bigger throughout, you know, every year, for how trauma and how stress like passes down the generations. There's also beginning to be research for saying how protective factors does the same thing for things like immunity, you know, and for other protective things, you know. And I think that science really, you know, it still is a little too individualistic especially at the DNA level, right? It's like a person's DNA, and really doesn't talk about the structural factors that are the biggest protective factors, right? Your own communities, this community, for example, and how this community can lead to healing from listening to other people's stories. And so I just wanted to end on that note. And yeah, thanks everyone.
I'm speechless. Mariel?
I'm gonna nerd out so much reading
I-
up. Send me stuff to read, Patrick, because this is completely fascinating. And I gave CPT a little bit of a try, and I found it really, really difficult. But yeah, everyone should be in therapy, you guys, y'all, folks, friends. Wow, yeah.
I feel like I want to, if everyone doesn't know, this is being recorded and is going to go on YouTube. And I feel like I'm going to need to rewatch that because it was so mind-blowing, but it also sort of spoke to the very idea of stories themselves. And how we're always saying like, yeah, it's very important to tell stories, but you like really went into the science of why it is. And that was, I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. That was amazing. And thank you for your work. And I loved your nails, and I loved seeing your hand doodle while you were speaking about these extremely important things. Yay, thank you. Patric Pardo, that was so wonderful. Is Yunique ready? The next storyteller, are you ready? Shall I take it, Mariel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to read your little bio, Yunique. I'm saying your name correctly, right? Yunique. Okay. Just want to make sure. I also really like your little picture. Also, storytellers, before I forget, put your little social media tags in the chat so everyone can follow you. And if you want, you can throw your Venmos in there. So if anybody wants to throw a little extra cash, they can. All right. This is a short bio, so get ready. Okay. Yunique is an artist and food enthusiast. They show up for the in-between, the unsaid, the unknown, and the nuance. Please, everybody, give it up for Yunique. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? I'm feeling, yeah, like first of all, it's so super nice to meet everybody, and I'm feeling like virtually awesome and honored to be with you all. So thank you again, Mariel, for inviting me here. We've known each other for many years over the time of like living in New York together and always kind of seeing each other nuances. And so I feel so wonderful to be here to speak words with you all. So yeah, thank you. All of a sudden I'm kind of nervous, but yeah, I'm from Jamaica, from the diaspora of Jamaica. Although I've been here for about 20 years living in New York, and I'm currently living in Sunset Park where I am quarantined. And my story, or how I will be speaking to y'all, by the way, just FYI, is that I really I've realized that I have a way more social anxiety than I thought, or maybe it's because of quarantine or something, but I had to write down a lot of my thoughts, and how I will be kind of like just speaking my truth is just through, you know, that way, just kind of that narrative of thoughts. They're not necessarily in any kind of format, if that's okay with everyone. Okay, cool.
That's great. We love that.
All right, yeah, dope. So yeah, I am a healer. I am a lover. I am a food enthusiast, and I often refer to myself that way because I find a lot of healing that comes from food, and I find a lot of like navigation on even how I can be mutual service to my own community and myself and my family and just everyone around me through food. So that's kind of why I say food enthusiast. The many states we arrive, you know, and I guess I'm going to go into like, you know, my pondering thoughts, as I said. And like the many states we arrive in, one of them is being naturally positive at birth. And also, we have a brain that is negatively biased in the absence of anything we sometimes don't understand. We kind of like go to a negative. And so the rose colored glasses, like when I think about that theme, I thought about, I suppose, like an optimism association, almost like an unrealistic association at first. And though at the core, the idiom and or metaphor for me usually wants to lead to interdependence. And I think that's kind of why I have you know, these thoughts of like, oh, well, this is the situation at hand. However, I'm going to kind of like conjure some thoughts on how I can better, one, navigate it, and better, and two, I suppose, like heal through it, and then three, go through it, right? And so I think that really comes from like seeing things through like a rose-colored glass that brings up the ethics for me of like interdependence. And that's the state of being that's the state of being dependent upon one another, something mutual. And so while thinking about some particular feelings that are with me right now and kind of have been with me for a while, I wanted to share with y'all this evening. And then like doing some research, I came upon a summary that, and sorry folks, it's from Google. It says, the evidence, well, it provided some evidence about like the term rose-colored glasses and kind of that metaphor of healing. And it says that it provides a direct evidence that our mood literally changes the way our visual system filters our perceptual experiences, which is kind of suggesting that seeing the world through rose-colored glasses is more biological reality than we think. And it's more of a metaphor than we like realize. And doing things for each other, you know, it makes our lives easier, and it makes us like trust each other and like love each other more, which I kind of well, which kind of creates a secure function in relationship, which I kind of feel like comes from, you know, sometimes thinking about the positive and thinking about things through like a rose-colored glass. But so yeah, so like late January of 2020, I went to a friend's memorial, and to be honest, like I was even stunned to like be there because my friend took their life, and I like you know, I couldn't grapple anything. I couldn't say anything. And it, you know, I'm even feeling kind of weird right now, the fact that I said my friend took my life, and then the second sentence was I, but that was my reality. And it conjured shame. And I know that it shouldn't, and I know it's not deserving, but still my senses like rushed to that uneasy feeling. And I just had saw them a few months ago, and yeah, and I just kind of wanted to, even when I saw them, I wanted to say so much, and I didn't say it because I was like, oh, whatever the cases were, I didn't say what I wanted to say. And granted, I'm not even sure if it was anything to, you know, save this person's life. I don't know, but I didn't say those things, and I kind of like have regret for that. And so yeah, just kind of being there, I asked a lot of questions like, why didn't I say these things, or, you know, like the whys. And at their memorial, though, I had a lot of closure with their family and with our friends that we knew together, and it was beautiful. And then that was 2021, so shortly right after that, the pandemic followed, and that really affected us all. And in that time as well, I was also in the middle of a quest of like dedicating more time to humility and understanding more about me, and what is inherited. So that is funny that we kind of just talked a little bit about that before. Thank you all again for sharing. And, you know, just kind of thinking about, yeah, what are these things that are inherited in me, and how can I not necessarily touch them or grapple them, but more understand them and move with them and kind of vibe with them. And so I was on a quest to speak to my grandmother more and speak to the people that are around me that I, you know, I felt safer or blessed to even have, even if the relationships may not be the most the most inviting, I would say. I still try to find like a way to kind of like navigate through that. And for me, that was with my grandmother, like shortly after the pandemic. And that led us into being quarantined together because, as y'all know, the elderly was most vulnerable. So we kind of like stayed quarantined together. And wow, I got more than humility. I got so much more, and I'm just so happy I did that, because sometimes from diaspora too, in the beginning, like when I was like 19 or so, and I'm like, I need to find myself. Let me go to, you know, the places that are I have access to because I live in New York City, which are the gay clubs and the gay bars, and you know, and the spaces that are calling them, you know, calling themselves the spaces that I needed to hear. But I always didn't get what I needed from those spaces. And granted, you know, it's nothing wrong with those spaces. It was just more that I was, you know, bypassing grandma. So anyways, you know, one of the things that staying with them and finding more humility and love and love for myself too, and my own attributes that I need to work through. They have this saying, when God get ready, you have to move. And fast forward to June 2020, I needed to like unravel. I needed to shake up things. I needed to cultivate something that was like for myself. And I was, you know, everyone knew the state that we were in at the time. Sometimes I try to stay kind of vague, because for me, even mentioning a word can like uproar an emotion that I kind of have to stay in. But yeah, June 2020, we were there. And I was like, yo, I need to unravel. I need to go to a mountain somewhere. And like grandma said, when God get ready, you got to move. And so I found myself just trying to find nature wherever I could, and trying to find space to breathe in a way that like felt unfamiliar, but I just needed something that, you know, that was going to get me where I needed to go. Anyways, there I realized like, wow, I kind of put my friend MJ on the back burner, saying that I needed to mourn for them more. And I wasn't, you know, and so many contexts of life was bleeding out in so many different ways that I finally, you know, I was like, what's going on? So I did time. I kind of made time for that, but still also like, okay, when you leave this mountain, Yunique, you're not necessarily going to go back to grandma's house. You really kind of need some more space for yourself. So kind of just kind of going in back into that, I found a place to just get the breath of fresh air through nature that I needed in Flatbush. And the backyard had a little patch of grass, and I was like, okay, this is it. Yes, I'm gonna, you know, unravel, and this can be my little thing for a little bit. And I did that for a while. And sorry, I'm now gonna read a little bit of notes because I did that for a while. And I'm very good at taking care of myself. And I like, yeah, like I said, I kind of like trust the gravitational pulls that was kind of heading me where I needed to go. And I got some more space, and yeah, I found a space in Flatbush, and it was with two roommates. And well, no, it was with three roommates. And granted, now in my life, I need a little bit more space and time to kind of like unravel, but with budget and you know, the fast move and everything like that, I kind of just put rose tinted glasses on and was like, all right, this person is telling me who they are, so I'm going to listen to that, and I'm going to just kind of, and like I said, for me, fall back on that interdependence that, you know, we will kind of like fall into the things that we need for each other. And that didn't really quite work out. Like, in fact, 2 months after living there, I was later illegally evicted for reasons of white biases, and yeah, and then threats and police being called and like all that stuff. And I was like, how did I get here? I feel like, you know, so these people told me some things. I took it for what it was because I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna like listen to what you have to say. And so and granted, I just, because I threw out something super dramatic about being evicted and being, you know, the police calling me, I want to say that I negotiated terms and safety that felt right for me, and I'm currently safe and okay. But yeah, it kind of like bring me back to that point that yes, we need we need to conjure the things that we need to survive, right? And so I don't necessarily want to say like, well, Rose, like having, you know, these tinted things on is a perception of like unrealistic realities, because no, we need the things that we need. But with that, I also feel like we strongly need to be interdependent, you know, we also have to remember that. And I think that, you know, that can actually save us more than we think. But so yeah, I got out of that situation with a lot of continuous patience and healing and navigation and kind of like standing my ground. And like grandma said, when God get ready, you got to move. So I moved into something that better serves me now, which I am currently in. And there I had a breakdown. I was like, all I'm trying to do is, you know, unravel, like do my little art, write a little bit and mourn for my friend. I feel like literally since last year, I realized I've been trying to mourn. And someone said, maybe, and someone meaning a physical person, going to nature, just meditating, kind of like waiting for answers. And I realized that I am in mourning. I am mourning currently. And those things are saving me. And then sometimes I wonder, like, why do these thoughts just come to me to like save me? You know, what is conjuring that? And yeah, just like a power from within. It is so it is not only like a survival tool for me, but it also is a tool that makes me thrive. And like I said, I'm here, like settled again. And after being settled, while in the pandemic and staying with Grams, I was able to get some access to some grants, some like artist grants and things like that. And a producer from China kind of like reached out to me through one of those grant situations and was asking me, how am I surviving the pandemic and just like living through everything that's going on. And I told her a little bit of what was going on with me. And they said they were like shocked to know just some of the severities and the extremes that was going on with me. And I had to think for a little bit like, oh, wow, these like even speaking these stories for me was a shock to my system. And I wonder of, you know, just kind of like some of the things that I tell myself. And I wonder about some of the things that I am doing to heal and like, you know, what are the things that I'm doing nuance to like get through. And I won't necessarily go through all of those things, but I will say that it is very powerful to know that sometimes we actually do know how to take care of ourselves, and we do have those tools if we kind of just like sit with ourselves and sit with our nuance. And yeah, even sometimes when I wake up, if I can go outside and make like some ginger tea and throw some chia seeds in it, literally that makes me feel so much more dependable to go finish the rest of my day than if I didn't do that step. If I didn't do that step, that means I'll just like literally stay in the bed all day and then wonder like, how do people do the things they do and, you know, ruminate. But yeah, we just kind of have the power in us to conjure the power and the nuance and the necessities that we need. And thank y'all so much. for listening. I'm crying again, and I'm crying with, you know, everything that y'all said. And I didn't necessarily know how to put up like a bar on the side like y'all did, but I have a video of me kind of just like listening to my friend's favorite artist, MJ. Mariah Carey. Sorry, their name is MJ. I don't want to say their full name. But yeah, MJ's favorite artist is Mariah Carey. And I found myself like one day walking and crying and listening to that song. And I would kind of just like to encapsulate that whole moment for me in this moment. Is that cool with y'all? All righty, cool. Sorry, you probably can't see me. We belong together. Yeah, that's me. Thank you all.
Yay, Yunique. Give it up for Yunique. There were so many quotable things in that story. I feel like people resonated with the fact that you were on a quest. Just the use of that word quest. It was like, oh, thank you so much. Conjuring.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
And thank you. Thank you for telling that story, and thank you for talking about the stuff that you've been going through, because we're all been going through it this year or so. And you're right. Like, I kept nodding my head because we are resilient people. We do pull these things from within ourselves. It comes from our ancestors, like Patrick said, it's in us. But being interdependent and forming a community of people who you can rely on and depend on is like what makes it stronger to move forward. And I'm really happy that you're asking for help and hopefully get the things that you need.
And also love to
That's
Graham.
all. Yeah.
And glad you're safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Yunique. That brings us to our final storyteller. Is everybody ready? I'm going to read your little bio. Hold on just a moment. I'm very excited about this storyteller because for a lot of reasons, but she's a dildo slinger, which is very exciting and fun to me. All right, I'm going to read.
She's many more things than that.
You're about to find out. Dirty Lola is a sex edutainer, speaker, and self-proclaimed dildo slinger. Known for her live sex ed Q&A show, Sex Ed A Go-Go, and as co-host of New York Magazine's The Cut's Sex Probs web series, Lola has spent almost a decade working to end stigma and shame surrounding sex and sexuality. Having started her journey sharing personal discoveries with polyamory and kink online, Lola now uses her knowledge, warm candor, and public platforms to teach the masses in person and to rapt internet audiences. Everybody, please give it up for Dirty Lola. Yay! Thank you.
We added the internet audiences after everything fell apart. We're not seeing anybody in person. Hi,
We're wrapped already.
It's so good to see everybody's faces. This has been my stage for a year and change now. I'm here because I'm kind of telling not the same touchstone as Mariel. I'm here because we were both mourning the same friend, and we touched, like, we kind of interact on the internet, but we really touched base to make sure we had somebody, you know, because when you go to a wake or you go to any of those things, it's like, who's going to be there so I'm not just standing around feeling awkward. And it was really hard. It was a shock. No, this was not, Jasmine wasn't sick. We weren't expecting this. It was sudden. It hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. Jasmine was also my first girlfriend, which was like, Jasmine knocked on all the closets in high school, like, hey,
Who
All of the
hasn't had their
closet.
heart broken by a long-haired
All
butch
of us.
once? Not me.
All of Jasmine was everybody's first. And we all have our first story. And it's so funny because there's pictures with her online and everybody's like, you dated her too. Like, we all dated her. But it was just really hard because we're all slowly rolling into 40. I think Jasmine had just turned 40. And we're already losing people. And that was just a real big, like, and then the same week, literally I had a breakup. And then the next day I found out my friend suddenly died. And so I was reeling, and I went to the wake because I just needed to see people. I hadn't been around people, let alone friends, in forever. But I was like, I'm going to double mask up and I'm going. And it was needed. I needed to say goodbye. I needed to see people. I had the same kind of response. I'm so glad you did that story about the outfit because that stuck with me. And I came home and I'm like, she's got to be in heaven in that, like, forever. Like, I hope there's a closet with some jeans and a nice button down and an A shirt. Like, I hope there's like a change of clothes policy. When you die, you get to like change your outfit. And then we touch base. And so I'm here because Mariel was like, do you want to do this? And when she told me the theme, I'm like, normally I am a very optimistic person. I see the good in the world, but I'm like, this boy just broke up with me. My friend just died. We're in a global panorama. What? Where are the roses? Where are the glasses? I was reeling on how to like do this, but I started thinking about high school because I was thinking about Jasmine a lot. And it really hit me not only what an amazing experience I had in high school as a queer kid, but also just how that really impacted how I see the world. We went to Long Island City High School in Long Island City, Queens, and it was new. I think when I started going, it had only been open for 3 years. It hadn't been open that long. I'm from South Carolina, and when I came to New York, I lived in Jamaica, but I was a straight A student in South Carolina. So when you're a straight A student coming from another state, they give you a giant book of schools at the DOE, and they tell you you get to pick where you go. And I just remember going like, I don't know what to pick. And they're like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And at the time I wanted to be a writer. And so I was like, a writer. So they gave me like a list of schools. And I looked at the school that was furthest away from my house and my mom. And that's the school I chose. And it was a 2.5 hour commute for me from Jamaica, Queens to Long Island City because they wouldn't give me the bus pass. I had to take 3 trains and walk 6 blocks to get to school for the first 3 years of my high school experience. But it was a good time. But besides that, the school we went to, it was very multicultural. I was coming from a place where literally there was Black and white, and maybe we had like one Native American student, and occasionally we got a student from somewhere else in the country. What do you call it? They're not trade students. What are they? When you swap, exchange. That's when you swap. And that was it. I didn't even know there were different types of Hispanic people. Like I didn't, because they don't teach you that. The South is very South-centric, as you can imagine. And coming to a place where there's people who are speaking different languages and melding, and a high school that fostered it. Like we had multicultural week, and we had a multicultural show where people got to do the things that meant something to them, and we all cheered for it. We had a huge group of queer kids. Like I remember the day Jasmine hit on me, and I was like, oh, remember a lot, girls. I think okay. And I sat on her lap in homeroom, and we made it like real. And then the beginning of the school year, the next year, my friend Jose runs up to me with a rainbow necklace and just goes, welcome to the family. And that's how I walked out of the closet. Like I walked out of the closet into this coven of queers who were magical. And maybe everybody wasn't in a place of identifying that way, but like we knew, and we were there for each other. But besides all of that, we didn't go to a school where people picked on you for being queer. Like there were other teen things that we had going on, but nobody was beating up queer kids. Like, you know, and if somebody had said something, there were enough of us to take you down. Like there was so many of us, we were gonna fight, we're gonna cut you, we got you. So, but it was just this magical thing that I didn't realize until I left that place, like how much it formed who I am as a person and how I see the world. We had a daycare for teen moms. So many girls didn't drop out of high school because our school had a daycare, and they said you have to be there at 5:30 in the morning, you drop your baby off and you go to school, and if you're late you have to go home. And these moms came to school and they dropped their kids off and they went to school instead of like dropping out and not getting their, you know, or having to get a GED. Like they came to school. We had a grocery store, we had a Pathmark. Do you remember the Pathmark? But kids worked it. It was a job. You worked your way up through the Pathmark. You could be like manager of the high school Pathmark, and it was a real Pathmark. We could go in and buy things, and we had a culinary, like we had this beautiful culinary room. Bobby Flay actually still gives scholarships to students in our culinary program, and it was just amazing. And I don't even know if they do all of this stuff now, because I'm sure they looked at test results or something. But I always wonder, like, do they look at the people that it made? Like, we still roll deep. The class of 99, 98, 99, 2000, like that little swath, we roll deep. I still go to people's weddings. I have so many friends from high school. There's so many people when they have babies, all these things, we really keep in touch. And people are doing amazing things. And it's because we had an environment where we weren't told we couldn't do something. If you wanted to be an artist, we had amazing art teachers and art rooms. We had a fashion club. We had leadership, which was something I joined. I was a raver kid who wore wide legs, and I was student fucking body president, and I didn't have to change to be that. Like, I didn't put on nicer clothes. I mean, sometimes they made me wear a polo that had my name on it, and I hated it, but I didn't have to be somebody else to be part of student government, and not only a part of it, to be in charge of it. And so for all the things that high school can be for people, it feels really lovely to look back and to talk to other people, and that we all had a similar experience. We all look back and we're like, there weren't a lot of fights. There were things, there was drama, always breakups, usually boyfriend, girlfriend drama, something that was happening, but it wasn't the stuff that you hear about these days. And I ate because kids don't have, school is not a home. School for me was a safe space. My home was not safe. My house was not a good place. And school was where I felt safe and seen and protected, and people I loved were there, and I knew I could go there and I would be taken care of. And it makes me so sad that people don't have that. And Jasmine was a big part of our community, like making us a family. We all knew each other because of Jasmine. We all spent time together because of Jasmine, and we still keep in touch. And sometimes you have to think, like, how do I know this person? And a lot of us, you tie it back to Jasmine. It's like, oh, this is how I know you. Even being at the wake and seeing the different, like, kind of sections of people, we're all tied together because of Jasmine. And all those thoughts and thinking, all just the way the world is, I just really have needed that to look at the magic that can happen when people realize we're different and allow those differences to exist without trying to oppress one another, and realizing that we can come together if you just make space for it. And our high school was this microcosm of the world that I want to see, the place I want to live, because I want the world to feel like the safe space it should be, without us having to change or be different, and we can still see each other and love each other. And so that's what I'm holding on to. And like, if there's anything good that ever comes out of someone dying, it's to stop and think and remember that we had something special, and I want to keep projecting that out into the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariel?
I feel really lucky to know you. Just so you know. Because, right, if I hadn't met Jasmine, I could have been a completely different person. We all could have been completely different people. But, you know, feel really lucky to have been able to find myself.
Yes. Which you were in and
Right.
sat behind me, and that's why we dated.
Dude, I'm still mad about that. Like, the theater teacher who came for you for like your Southern accent because you said man, and she was just like, it's man. And like her Northeastern fucking accent, and I'm just like, no, let her do it however she fucking does it. Yeah, like we were always just sticking up for each other, just being different and being the same together, you know? And I feel really lucky, and that's one of the things I love about this program. And thank you, Drae, for like, and thank you, Donnie and Greg, for making third spaces for us to come together and build each other up and hear each other out, and I don't know, build the future lives that we want to see for ourselves. You're muted, Drae.
Sorry. I'm really having also a picture of Jasmine, and what, like, just the way that you describe her is like, I'm sorry.
I was like really kind of shy in the 90s. I didn't like being in pictures because I just didn't feel whole then. So there's not like a lot of pictures of young me, except for like some that some friends took. But there's a lot of pictures of Jasmine because she was just a light.
I'm so sorry.
She had swag.
She's so swaggy.
She did. Everybody gravitated, like she had jock friends. She had like it wasn't, and she didn't care. In '94, to be a lesbian butch who would walk up to you and be like, "You got a problem with me being gay? I don't care. Whatever. Like F you."
I
And it was just like, oh wow, okay, we can do that. Oh, we could do that, and
we can do that.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Was really powerful. And I think I know a little, like I think I got a little bit in my teenage brain back then that this was a thing, but when you look back, it's like I got loud as fuck when I was like, oh, I have permission. We can do this. Oh, yes, okay. I'm on it.
Thank you for that story. And again, sorry for your loss. I'm very sorry. But I'm glad that you all got to cross paths with each other and with Jasmine. And now with all of us. Thank you. Everybody, Mariel Reyes curated this show. So meaning she brought all of the guests, and it has been an amazing lineup of guests. And I feel like we should all just stand up. Just stand up. Just standing O. Standing O for these storytellers. Just yes. And Mariel also came up with the theme, rose-colored glasses, which is a very like expansive, amazing theme. And Mariel has helped me expand how I think about storytelling and everything around it. So I want to just give a special shout out, and for always showing up when I need somebody to like record or like give me an idea or just be very thoughtful and give really great hugs. And again, I can't wait till I get to hug you in person. And
me too.
Thank you. I know, I can't wait.
I was gonna be smarmy and I was gonna be like, I'm great, but no, I can't wait to hug you, dude.
Yay. And follow all of these folks on social media. This is the 7th anniversary. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful that I get to hear all of these stories all the time and help create this space for people to tell stories. If you want to tell a story, you can reach out to me on social media, on Instagram, DreBiz, or Tell Queers, TELLQUEERZ. And the show is the 3rd Saturday of every month. And follow us and I'll give you information. Does anybody have anything they want to add or announce? Any events, any ideas?
Mm,
Hmm.
hang on.
Oh, another outfit. No, here comes Beetlejuice.
You wish. You wish. So my mother-in-law, who you've met, is an amazing
Love
poet.
her.
Her name is Jacqueline Jones Lamont, and she has a new book coming out this summer, and it's called What Water Knows. And she may be logged in here. I don't know. She's a busy lady.
So
But it's a huh?
I love her. She's a wonderful person. She's been to
She
tell
is. She's been to tell.
Miss
She shows
Lamont.
up.
Yes.
She shows up, and
She
it's
really
lovely
shows up.
because she shows up, and it's an experience that I've never had with any adult when I was like in a formative age, and even now, like I'm almost 40, and it feels so sweet to like have her show up at things. So I
She
figured
is-
I'd mention about her book because she just sent me a copy of it.
Oh, let's see. What's it called?
Oh, I don't. This is just like a pre-issue copy, but it's called "What Water Knows: A List of Poems by Jacqueline Jones Lamont."
Can you put it in the chat or whatever?
Yeah,
someone-
yeah.
Can access it. Because she really is a lovely person. And
she is.
I haven't seen her writing, but I would love to.
Oh, she's got quite a few books, but
Love
this is
it.
the newest one.
Yay. She, just so everyone knows who doesn't know, she has queer children, trans children, and she shows up to the show and she's just like the best supportive ally mom, warm, wonderful person. And it's always nice when like you see like queer people bringing their family. I don't know why that it should be normal, but it really like touches me when I see that. So she's just an amazing person, and you know, support her if you can. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Yay, I love everybody.
I gotta go back in my pajamas.
Everybody go get high and order your food now.
Woohoo!
If you haven't already. Thanks for coming, everybody. This was very well attended.
Happy 7th
Credit.
anniversary.
Yay, happy 7th.
Happy 7th anniversary.
Yay. Thank you, Patrick, Dirty Lola, Yunique. Amazing, amazing. And shout out to Jasmine. Hopefully you changed out of that dress and into something you like out there and that you're listening.
If shit doesn't haunt them, I will.
In your Beetlejuice.
Yep.
Sweet. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hope we'll see you at other events soon.